Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video tutorial, I wanted to get started with Terraform and just look at what it is, some very basic aspects of Terraform, and maybe write a very simple code using Terraform and show you how easily you can adopt this language and start managing your cloud resources. Okay, so this site that where I am at right now, it's called the terraform.io. Okay, it's the hashicorp. They have developed this platform. It's a completely open source. Okay, uh, the idea is write, plan, and apply. So you write your code in Terraform, then you initialize the Terraform and you run the command terraform plan, and the plan is going to evaluate your code that you have written and tell you, okay, if you apply this code, this is what is going to happen. And if you're satisfied, then you're going to run this apply command. Okay, again, it's an open source infrastructure as code software tool that provides a consistent CLI workflow to manage hundreds of cloud services. Terraform codifies cloud APIs into declarative configuration files. Now, you may have experience with other type of infrastructure as a code type tools like maybe Puppet, maybe Safe, and Ansible. So when I first got a chance to look at this Terraform code, it looked all the language is very it's like a YML type language, and if you have any experience with Ansible, probably you have a very easier start looking at this style of defining your infrastructure as a code templates. So you can click on this getting started, and there's a whole bunch of guides in here. So it's a cloud agnostic, so you can use Terraform for to deploy code into multiple clouds: AWS, Azure, then Google Cloud, Oracle, Terraform Cloud. Here a whole bunch of tutorials that you can go through. Maybe let's focus on the Azure one. So if you can go through the whole tutorials, introduction to infrastructure code, so it's just going to give you what is the concept. Then if you want to deploy from your workstation, you would have to install the Terraform, and then you will install write some code to build the infrastructure, and then pretty much you'll be initializing plan and apply configuration that we talked about. So maybe just come over here and look at what it is telling us that we need. Okay, so this is still not Azure. So they're doing the deployment using Docker at the moment. So let's click on Azure. So let's go to Azure and see what they're asking. So Azure, if you want to deploy your Azure infrastructure using Terraform, you have to use the PowerShell, or you can also install the Azure CLI if you have a Linux or Mac environment. So what we are going to do, we're going to skip some of the steps over here. We are gonna start some of our work right in here. Okay, and I may have actually already written some code. So let's go back to my Azure environment. So let's just open up my cloud cell. Is probably hidden right here. Yeah, it looks like I may have some code already. So do a ls here. Actually, let's just close this and reopen this one. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna reopen this one. Let's see what happens. So and I'll show you what you really need to get started with the Terraform. So I'm not gonna do this work from my desktop or my Mac because I would have to install a whole bunch of stuff. Terraform is already installed in Cloud Cell. Okay, so if you do sorry, let me see if I can write properly. Oh, this sometimes happen when I'm typing, but T is just going over there. Let me just refresh the browser and reload it and open up my browser again. I mean the PowerShell again, and let's see what happens. So then TE now is doing better. So if I just type TERR then tab, so my Terraform is available to me. Okay, So what I wanted to show you, if I do a ls here, so you see that I have one file that I created already. It's called main.tf. So terraform dot init, okay, it initializes the terraform, and then terraform that plan, it goes and look at that particular file with that particular name. Okay, that's by default. So let's just look at, so here I can do code and then main dot tf. If you are like starting from scratch, if you have nothing, just do a touch and then create a file. Or if you, even if you don't have, you just type this code, it will create that file. It will be empty one for you. So let's hit enter. So what it did, it just opened up the code, the file in Visual Studio Code. So for here, what you're looking at is a very small code, Terraform, and you need required providers. So we're going to use azurerm, and the source is going to be hashicorp azurerm, and version is greater than 2.0. So there are two different versions, just be aware of. In this deployment, we're going to use the 2.0 version. So required provider, so this defines what the Terraform part, then provider azurerm, and features. This is a standard block. And what do we want to do? Resource Azure resource group RG, azurerm resource group. Name of the Azure resource group that we want to create is the terrarg, and we want to deploy that in eastus. So that's pretty much it. Let me see what the test code over here was trying to give us. So this one was somewhat similar. So it was configured that the Azure provider, so they also had the Terraform and then required provider azurerm source version, and we didn't need this much, so this is additional. So if you want to specify, okay, you have to have a version that is greater than some build, so you can also add that. This block we already have, the azurerm features, and we have a similar code for the resource that we want to create using this particular provider. Okay, so once you have this, so we can run this terraform.init command. So if I come back over here to our Azure, so let's see, let's just hit the paste right over here, and then we're gonna hit enter. So this one should initialize, and it says initialize the backend, and it's everything is done. So let's just see what happens. So let me just make, I'm just trying to make this one a little bit bigger. So there we go. So over here, so if you see what happens, so we ran the command at initialize the backend, initializing the provider plugin, and then Terraform has been successfully initiated. You may now begin working with Terraform. Try running Terraform plan to see any changes that are required for your infrastructure. All Terraform command should now work. So that's good news. So at this time, if I want, I can run the terraform plan command, right? That's what they're saying. Hey, you run the command terraform plan. So let's see what happens if I run this command. So this really, it reads this particular main.tf file, and it's really gives you the output. Okay, terraform use the selected providers to generate the following execution plan. So this is what they create. Okay, resource actions are indicated with the following symbols plus create. Okay, so if anything is going to change, so that is what you have. So Terraform will perform the following actions. So it's gonna this is the block that will that's gonna happen. It's gonna create the resource group. It will assign a ID. The ID will come after the resource is created. It will be deployed in East US, and the name of the resource group would be terrarg. Okay, now it says plan 1 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. So here they are saying you didn't use the dat out option to save this plan. So Terraform can guarantee to take exactly these actions if you run terraform.apply now. But we can still apply this terraform dot apply. So in theory you can also go back and just use output. Let's see, I think it's just out. Yeah, so if I just say out option, it saves the whole plan in some file. So output, you probably have to provide a name. So saved plan, something like that, and hit enter. And so this saved plan is really kind of the output like this. It will be stored in that file. So let's see what happens. So it looks like save plan to save plan. So let's see if I do a ls. Here's the saved plan. So you can also look at the saved plan by code saved plans. If you look at it, oh my god, this is actually in a binary file, so I don't have to worry about it. So at this time what I can do, I can run a command like, so this one I can actually get rid of. Oh, we are out of the cloud cell, so let's just get back in real quick. And so once we are there, now we can apply, make sure this file is still there. It's there. So we're gonna write terraform apply, and then I think you can just pass the saved plan and see what happens. So this time terraform is not going to the main.tf. It's just looking at this saved plan, and it's just doing what it needs to do. So it just said creating, and creating complete after 1 second. So it's created the resource group in my subscription, and it if I go back to my resource group, I should be able to see a terraform. And again, this sometimes it takes just a little bit of time to populate. Let's see, and I said the resource group name should be terrarg, terrarg. So let's see, terrarg, and I have selected all of my active subscriptions. So let's just terrarg. So that got created. Okay, so it was not there before. So this is how simple it is to use Terraform to create your resource. Now let's go back to our Terraform. So we didn't do everything that this one is telling you to do. And let's go back to even hashicorp and see what else we can do with Terraform. So we have done that. We have planned using the terraform.plan command, and we have applied our terraform, and that terraform we actually saved our plan in an output file and passed that file name to this particular command uh, to uh, to deploy. Okay, now inspect your state. This one you can also do. You can very easily run this terraform.show command, and it should tell you the current state of your deploy resources. So if you run this, so it's now telling that this is what had happened. And you remember this ID, it was when we ran the plan command first. This said that hey, you will get it after the deployment. Now since the deployment is completely done, now we have this ID available to us. So Terraform is maintaining the state of our Azure resources now. So let me go back over here. Let's see what else is kind of interesting. So next step, what you can do is they're telling us that you can even change your infrastructure. Change means you can add maybe a tag, you can even destroy the infrastructure, you can create resource dependencies, you can define input variables and query data with output variables. And if you want to do all of that Terraform and don't want to use a local environment, you can use something called the Terraform Cloud. So let's do couple more before we stop the video. So next, change. So if you want to change, so what it's doing, it's telling you, hey, update your configuration. So you got to come back to the resource block. Okay, and then this is the block that we are adding. So you see tags, and tags they're saying okay, add a environment and the team, those tags that we want to add. So let's just go back to Azure. Let's do code, and then again I have to open the main.tf file, and here is my resource block. I think the resource block is where you gotta add, so resource, and then this, and before we close the resource block we gotta add everything else over here. Let's try this. Let's try this. So under resource, let's go back couple just to be consistent. Go back couple and go back couple, and this one I can also move back just one more. Okay, so resource name this and that, and then I added the tag resource rg, all of that, then I added the tag. So that looks good. So let's see, we can save this particular file, and then again what we're gonna run. So this is now saved, so let's come back over here, and then I'm just gonna run Terraform and then plan. So it's now going to look at the file again, and it's really looking for what has changed. Okay, so if you see this plus sign, so if you are familiar with the Git, it's kind of you have a easier time following this. So it's just telling you, hey, these are the changes that are going to happen. We're going to add a couple of tags. In the new state, you will have the environment and the team. Those tabs is going to be added. So if you look at this particular resource group, right now there are no tags, right? So now what we just did, we just did the Terraform plan, and this time let's not save anything, just do a Terraform apply. Okay, and let's see what happens. So it's just gonna go and look at the main.tf file, and if everything goes well, it should add these two tag values. So do you want to perform the selected actions? Plan 0 to add, 1 to change, and 0 to destroy. So I'm just gonna say 1, that should be for change. So let's see what happened. Okay, it says apply cancel. So this change means, hey, don't do it. Okay, so let's do the Terraform apply again, and we're just gonna use 0 instead of 1. So let's rerun, and this time the value that we're gonna add really is 0. So hit 0, and it's still cancelled. Okay, on the yes will accept your pro. Gee, so so this is a little bit confusing. So what they're saying that you should only use yes, and that will accept your the new deployment. Okay, so let's try it one last time. I'm sure that you're gonna make the same mistake. So this time we're gonna type yes and hit enter. Okay, so common mistake with Terraform. So once you look at this, it little bit confusing at the beginning, so you get used to writing yes to approve or accept your change. So now it says apply completed, uh, and 0 resource added but 1 change, and nothing is destroyed. So over here, so still there is no tag, and if I refresh this, I would expect to see couple of tags in here, and it may take a little bit of time before you see them show up. So let me just go back to resource group again and go back to terrarg. Here we go. So tags, you see the environment, Terraform getting started, and the team DevOps, they are now added to our resource group. Now last thing that we want to do maybe in here, so we have done all that. So yeah, terraform.show, it's always good to run this command time to time. So let's just come back over, run terraform show. So that should tell you the state, and now you see that now the resource that we have deployed, the Terraform now added the environment and the team, those two tags to the state of this particular resource, so it knows what is going on. So at this time, what if I click and add a new variable from here? So say team, and say, no, not team, say class uh, 2010, okay, something like that, and hit save. So now I have done something to this resource group, and I didn't do it using the Terraform code. I have done it from the portal. So what do you think? Can Terraform pick up the state of the code change? Unfortunately, the answer is no. So Terraform does not have any idea that we have done this work, and now we added another tag that is class of 2010. So just do a little bit more time as well in here, and we'll go back. So test rg, and we're gonna run this command one more time, and let's see if Terraform picks up anything, even if you give a little bit of time for Terraform to interact with the resource group. So let's see what happens. So even now I don't see anything. Even I'm gonna run it for the third time, and still no. So if you want to manage your infrastructure and your change management, you want to use Terraform, you always have to update your resource group using Terraform. And just note that if you do it via portal, then Terraform will not know what is going on with the state of your resource group. Okay, so the last thing that we want to do in this one is to destroy that infrastructure, and that's pretty simple. So we'll be running the terraform.destroy, so make sure that you know what you're doing. And hopefully I have so many other resources, right? So but Terraform only knows about the state of one resource, so hopefully it will not destroy anything else, but only the resource group that it created. So let's run this one and just validate that it is true. So again, these, don't worry about this one. So the only thing that you want to accept that change. So what's gonna do, it's saying the Azure resource group, the group that we have created using Terraform, will be destroyed, and the environment team. And over here, interesting, when you are running the destroyed, now it's actually looking and giving you and telling you, hey, you have a tag that is class, and I'm going to destroy that one as well. Are you okay with that? So here I'm gonna say yes, I'm fine, and let's see what happens. If Terraform can destroy your resource group, that means delete the resource group. So now the deletion is done, and it's saying that it's destroying this particular resource. So if you have other things deployed inside this resource group, it will most likely delete all of the resources as well. And It's destroying, still destroying, still destroying. So let's go back to the resource group. Terrarg is still there, it is still there, and hopefully it doesn't take too long, and be able to delete it. The only thing here, since we have changed one of the tags, so this tag, I hope that tag does not cause any problem. It looks like it didn't cause any problem, although it was not created using the Terraform code. This Terraform command destroy was able to destroy this particular resource group. So if I refresh, I shouldn't see this resource group anymore. So let's just try to do that, and let's just go back to the resource group. It's still showing resource group there, but if I refresh, you see that the resource group is now gone. So that's what I really wanted to cover in this particular video, and show you how easy it is to use Terraform. If you have never used any infrastructure as a code, it may take you some time to get started, but I would highly recommend that you go there. And Azure Terraform code, there's lots of good example out there, and I'll try to cover more Terraform as I go. But hopefully this has given you a good start. What I would recommend, that maybe Next thing you do is download the Terraform in your local environment, do your some of the development from your local machine, and maybe use one of the IDE, maybe use the PyCharm or not, and the IDE, or the Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code actually got a very good plugin for the Terraform. So try them out, and if you like the video, please give me a like. If you feel like there was another way, a better way to explain all the content that I just covered, please leave a comment. And happy learning Terraform. Enjoy. Thank you very much for watching the video.